Shut up and sit down. 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 Shut up and sit down.
Hello everyone, welcome into our Monday stream. Hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. Let me know if you did something cool over the weekend or if you just got to hang out. I know my weekend was full of some coding, some presentation prep. I've got 3 presentations due at the end of the week. Thankfully they're all on stuff we've been working on some Cypress stuff, some Angular unit testing. Got a lightning talk on giving an actual presentation and that I need to start creating. But today, we're going to look at all the stuff that we started last time when we streamed, which was adding TravisCI and our CI/CD builds into our project. We got a little hung up last time that we had a third-party dependency, or NGX Bootstrap, that had an older version that was stopping us from actually doing an Angular production build. So got that all fixed up off stream. We had fixed up technically on stream, but the way this project is set up, it's a workshop application, so it starts from project creation and walks all the way through it. So there's a Git branch for each of the different chapters. And unfortunately, when you upgrade dependencies, especially ones that start in the second chapter, for the other 14 chapters, you get to do the merge each of the branches together. So I did that off stream to bring us up to having everything merged together. I've learned the hard way. Don't start on the last branch and try to go backwards. It is almost impossible to get everything to merge right. And along the way, if you have any questions about Angular or Cypress or Travis or anything else, actually, just feel free to throw it in the chat and I will get right to it. With that, let's go take a look at where we left off here. So on our project, we had created our initial Travis YAML file. So pulling in Node.js, we want the latest LTS version, got some caching directories. The only thing we're doing right now is installing all of our dependencies using the npm CI and then running our actual CI script. So if we pull up our package.json, take a look at what is our CI script actually doing. So this is going to run lint. It's going to run our unit test. It's going to build a production build and then run our Cypress test. So last time we got hung up on just being able to run the actual CI build. So let's go ahead and kick that off. And let's make sure that is fully running. Or not. Looks like I need a little npm install. Looks like I'm missing some packages. So we're gonna wait for this to run. In the meantime, throw any questions you got in the chat. The GitHub repo for this is at github.com/digitaldrummerj, and it should be Angular tutorial code. And let me know how the mix of music to voice actually is. Let me know if I need to turn the music down at all or turn it up. Okay, let's try our npm run CI command again. Alrighty then. It looks like I might be missing a dependency here. Let's do a quick check for the npm run all. I believe it's npm run all, but let's do a double check. npm-run-all. And what npm run-all does for us is it gives us two commands. We can either run npm scripts in parallel or we can run them in serial. So if we scroll back up here, all the commands run it, we can see we're doing run-s. This says run everything in serial. So run our linting, then our test, then our build, and then our Cypress command. We could run these technically in parallel, or at least half of them. Linting and testing and technically building can all be done in parallel. One of the problems I ran into by doing it parallel is the log file gets intermixed. So as linting is scrolling through stuff, it intermixes with where the testing is. And if you try to look back through the log file when you have an issue, it's about impossible to figure out which stuff came from lint versus test. So I said, let's just go ahead and have a little bit longer runtime and just run everything serially. It's not like these are taking hours to run and need parallel. We're talking seconds to minutes. Now we got all of our npm dependencies. Hopefully everything is running. So first we're running lint. Let's get all of that taken care of. And how is everyone doing today? It looks like it passed linting. I'm gonna have to take a look at this for root deprecation. So while the rest is running, let's pull up our header component. Oh, it's in our spec file too. Line 39. So that looks like as part of our Angular module update, or NGX Bootstrap update, actually, not Angular module. So we will come back to that since it's not stopping anything right now. So far, so good. We're at least into our unit test this time. This is by far the worst part about setting up CI/CD is running through all of the test cases. And I have definitely seen this unit test fail a few times. It is one of those funky tests where if I run it more than once, it seems to pass. So once this test is out, we're going to take a hit. Go ahead, and I'm actually going to comment that test out just because I don't want to fix the test and get distracted by it today. I want to actually implement CI/CD. Actually, I know what the fix is. For this, at one point in time, we actually had a subscription set up, and we have since removed that. See if I can actually type ng test. I'm going to rerun these tests one more time. This is the worst part about setting up ng test. It's waiting for the compilation step. And in a second, we'll see Karma pop up here and run through these test cases, and we can see which ones are failing. So far, so good. Okay, ran all 61. Okay. I always forget and npm run ci, actually test ci, so I can test exactly how our CI script's going to run. How is everyone today? No whammies in our test. We saw it passing the actual Karma UI. Hopefully it passes through Chrome Headless this time. I am glad that you're doing good today. What is on your agenda for coding today? There you go. Hopefully all 61 of these tests pass. I kind of figured Cypress, and more Cypress. That is my plan after I'm done with live streaming. I've got to wrap up a presentation on it by the end of the week. That looked way more promising. Let's try and run our full CI suite here. I will definitely send you the presentation once I am done with it. Get your feedback on it. So far, Cypress has been absolutely amazing for my test. All of these unit tests still have all the stuff that I would do in Cypress now. It's got all the component tests. We're testing some DOM stuff, some router navigation. All those tests were in there before I started playing with Cypress. And because I'm doing a unit testing talk, I'm going to leave them in there at this point in time as examples of how to do it. But I'm definitely in the spot of not recommending component tests where you're looking at DOM elements and checking data binding as Karma and Jasmine test. Feels like those are way better suited for Cypress. And you'll see some of those in the project here. If I pull up like simple component with service here, you'll see that big thing we're doing is testing our service, testing all of our elements are actually bound. Like, that feels way better in Cypress and way easier to troubleshoot. And all the code we're playing at today is on this GitHub repo, and we are in the chapter UI test, or in the branch chapter UI test, I should say. So far, our CI build has gone through your linting, it's in testing. Hopefully no whammies with testing. Alrighty then, about ready to comment that test out for now. Actually, I'm going to take the nuclear route, and I'm just going to come out at the whole. Actually, that's the service spec. We want the component spec. I'm thinking if... Oh, there we go. Line 179. Skip right over that test. And no, that is not normally good practice to skip over the test, but our goal today is get CI implemented, not to troubleshoot why this test randomly fails. I will troubleshoot that after we get CI implemented. And how is the music to voice volume? So if everything works right this time, we should pass our unit test, and then we'll see our Cypress build kick off. I hear that one about sounds. I'm actually streaming from a co-working space. So once I move out of their podcast room and back into the main space, I will get some music from them as well. I'm going to, at some point in time, have to look at, is there a way to build once and have my linting, my testing, Cypress stuff all run so that we don't have to keep doing builds? Because linting does one, testing does one. We're going to build a production build here in a moment. Thankfully, Cypress doesn't build a fourth one. No whammies. There we go. Got our unit test to pass. Like I said, I will figure out what the heck is up with that test later. Somehow it is not detecting the item field, which is supposed to be set at NR before each. At least it should be set NR before each. Or in our setup method here. Or not. Find out where item field is set. That would be why it randomly fails. I'm actually not getting the field anywhere. So the reason it sometimes passes and sometimes doesn't is it depends on order. So tests shouldn't depend on each other, but one of the tests up top actually sets the item field. And so if that test happens to run first, then this test will actually pass. So we will get that fixed at the end of stream after we get all of our CI/CD stuff fixed up. Just waiting for our ng build to finish. It always hangs at 92%. Just let it go. Don't do the human nature thing and go, oh, it must be hung. It is not. It'll sit there for a little bit. Or maybe longer than a little bit. Doing builds is a little bit like watching paint dry. So let's pull it back up package.json and see where we were at in our process. We are right here on our build prod. Next thing that's going to happen is this CY run, or would have. Start server and test appears to be missing. I have this distinct feeling that at one point in time I stashed all of these, and the stash that I brought back was not the stash that had all the stuff in it. Save -dev. So start -server and test. And I know there is one more, HTTP-server. Let's do a quick scan here. So we've got that one, got that one. So just a quick review of what these commands do again. So the start server and test will run this command, and which will start up our HTTP server out of this folder. So our production build on localhost 4200. And this -c-1 says don't cache anything. So it's always going to return back like the latest result. And then the start server and test is going to wait for a response. So it's going to do a get response to localhost 4200. Once it gets a response, it will then run this cy:\run command, and which this will run, tell it not to generate any videos. It's on, ultimately running on TravisCI, and I'm not even sure how to get the videos off of TravisCI. At this point, I don't have a dashboard account, so there's no place for me to upload the videos. But once this command's done, what start server and test will do is it will stop this HTTP server so that we don't have artifacts running. And you'll notice when I installed some of these, it gave me a npm audit error. So let's see what it is blowing up on here. Let's see how many of them are Lodash. Surprisingly, not many. Last time I had this, I had a slew of Lodash pieces. Yep, there's a slew of Lodash as I scrolled up. So npm audit fix. Give this a moment to run. At least they have fast internet here, so we don't have to watch this for too long. So let's go ahead and do our cy-run. npm run cy:\run. We already proved out the rest worked, and we got our production builds. Just verify that our Cypress stuff actually works. Moment we should see it start running all of these Cypress tests. At this point, what it's really waiting for is the localhost 4200 to actually respond. See if it's actually up and running. So at least up and running. Come on, start server and test. Actually, I think this is a Cypress one, because I can see it appears to maybe have kicked it off. There we go. Just took a little bit. I have a distinct feeling because I was doing all those dependency upgrades and I was removing out node modules directories that it removed out the Cypress cache potentially. And it just had to re-download it. And somehow our Cypress stuff is not running successfully. So we'll wait for this to finish. And let's look and see what the UI looks like. Definitely wasn't expecting a good majority of the test to fail. Let's also kick off our server. npm run ci start server. Because as I mentioned earlier, this start server and test stops this HTTP server when it is done. Run all our specs and see what happens. Well, at least we get the same failures. You see pretty clearly localhost :4200/unknown. So why is the server responding with an I don't know, or with a 404 not found command? It is appearing like anything besides our home page is failing. It does actually go there. So if I pull up localhost 4200, it goes to our unknown, goes to our sign up, goes to our login. But in our test, it fails here. Let me try one more. Let me actually run ngserve. Directly in the... Yes, let's try that. Well, as soon as the server comes up. So this was the first time I had tried HTTP server. I'd been using ngserve up to this point. So to go back to, I'm gonna go back to ngserve just to make sure I didn't break anything there. As soon as it compiles. And then I will try going directly to it. Let me show you what our routes actually look like. Click here. So we've got the fallback route here of, if I don't know it, so I just use unknown as the way to trigger the fallback route, which should go to our 404 page, which just says not working, which is what you, or not found works, which is what you see here. And the HTTP server should hopefully be catching this, but we will find out here in a moment. It looks like I have one test case failure. I will take a gander through that link here in a moment. And why did our sign up one actually fail here? I have a very distinct feeling that potentially I broke something along the way. Because all of these were working on our last time that we streamed. So let's go find this one. Create account and log in. Scroll through this. Password. So this should be the test. Create account, verify, login. It should use this to go through the sign up. And it came out with foo@foo.com, which probably means I somewhere have that mocked out. So there's our sign up post. Username, password. It is mocked right there. Let's fix these up actually. Username, and username. Amazing what happens when you actually use the same username that you passed in as the one you're verifying. Let's take a gander back up here. Best user. That one. So it's awesome that it auto scrolls until I want to scroll back up. Ah, I know where that's coming from. That is because somewhere we have mocked out the identity call. It should get it right here. So in theory, it should get it right here, as well as our login. Make sure we don't change our username anywhere. So if I run the failing test by itself, I have a distinct feeling it will pass. I think what's going on is I've mocked out or aliased a call called identity twice. And I believe it is picking up the first one of those. Or not. Yep, I always want to do fit instead of dot only. Yes, that is not the direction it should go. So we sign up, click the identity. Yep, the API returns back a 403 when you're not authenticated. I wonder if this is a case where I am missing a mocked call. I don't believe I've mocked out a 403 anywhere. I see the other problem. So that call should have been mocked out. So let's trace through this test quick and find this. So what's going on here is when you go to click on the sign up page and try to go to this home page, it is not returning back the identity, so it thinks it's not logged in. It's trying to actually make a call to make sure that you're logged in. So meet at identity. So log out should go to log in. And wait for that to recompile. Also, if I don't try to run SSL against a non-SSL. Where is that username coming from? Is AU0. I have a distinct feeling that one of my record replay things has data in it. Yep, so it is set up to do record replays, and it is replaying some of the stuff. There we go. So what this shows me is that I actually need to mock out some additional calls. because all of these calls to localhost should have been mocked out. Yes, and the beauty of too much mocking. I totally agree. I'm kind of in this half state of mocking all of the data out, which is what this one does, and not mocking it out. Exactly. I'm going to look at actually turning some of this off. Record. If not record. Where are the data files? There we go. Let's take off the dot only and see what else I broke. So far, so good. I do love all the messages I get in the debug console. I had actually not looked at that before. I'm going to definitely have to add that into my demo, the talk I'm giving. So sweet, everything passed. So let's stop this actually from running. Let's start up our HTTP server. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for the help and for the article, because it definitely looks like that is where we were at, that it doesn't have the fallback in there. Let's take a gander through this article. So the application is going to pick up location and will serve the right client-side view. HTTP server Angular. It looks like someone's created an Angular HTTP server. Ports addresses. Just looking through the HTTP server for options. Let's see, what do we have? See. Mark this one since it looks like the right one. See if there's an actual answer that somebody checked off. Nope. The problem is solved by implementing hash location strategy, which adds pound to all your routes. I'm willing to at least give that a try. Look at this. If you're using a path location strategy, you have to use an app-based href. Thinking this is more what I want. I don't really want the hashtag in my URLs. Go into our routing file here. Actually, in our app module. In providers. Path location strategy. Verifier and index file. We do have a base href. And we need one more terminal here, and I need to rebuild this. ng build -- prod. And if all's working out right, hopefully that should resolve. So if you provide an app base ref. So looks like I may need that as well. actually never had to actually use this before. The servers I normally deploy on work just fine with this. Interesting that their example mentions base ref. So if you use it, you must provide an app base ref or add a base element to the document. Ah. So I don't need that. So what we are trying to solve here is that when we launched our HTTP server and we tried to navigate to any of our pages directly, besides the home page, I was getting a 404 not found error instead of the actual page. And so what we just ran across was this Stack Overflow article. That's exactly the problem I was having, and it says to fix this, you need a location strategy with either a hash location, which puts a hashtag into your URL, or there's this path location that should keep the paths exactly as I expected them to be. But we shall see here. As soon as it's done building, we can try it out again. Along the way, if you have any questions on Angular or Cypress or anything else, feel free to throw them in the chat. I am streaming every Monday and Friday. If you want to get notifications, if you look right above the video, click on the follow button, and you will get notified whenever I go live, which is scheduled for 10 a.m. on 10 a.m. Pacific time on Mondays and Fridays. Make sure our home page still at least works. So once I'm in the page, it works just fine. But if I try to navigate here, it does not. Thank you, helped me. Let's see. Just reading through all the comments here. This is because HTTP server does not support fallback like Light server or the Webpack dev server. So if you want to go with HTTP, then you can use a proxy, which redirects everything. Seems like a lot of work. Versions less, equal or more. So introduced a property on same URL navigation. Well, that's refresh issues. That looks like something totally different. From here, so the on same URL navigation says if I'm already on the route and I tell it to go to that same route, it'll cause it to do an actual refresh. Without this tag that they added, it would just load the page exactly as it was and not go back through the cycle. So that is definitely not the answer. Right location, use class path location. Now, somebody else pointed here to this little server. So let's take a look again at this. So if it returns a file if it exists, routes all of the requests to index.html rather than giving a 404. The only time it will error if it's out is if it can't locate the index file. This actually looks like exactly what we want in here. A few contributors. Been a bit since they've modified some stuff, but releases weren't too far away. But I think we're going to try this. Because this seems kind of silly. So let's go undo these changes. So npm install save dev Angular HTTP server. How do we launch this? That was easy enough. Angular-HTTP server. So while that's installing, let's go in our package file here, and let's change this to Angular-HTTP server. Then we're going to give this a try. So port 9000, we don't want it to open. That's cool, it even supports self-signed certificates. So --path. So --path gives that. Or you can even create a config file. It's kind of nice. So HTTPS or SSL flags are intended for development and testing. But we'll leave off the SSL for now. You know what? We're going to actually try it just because I want to. So --HTTPS for 9000. Looks like it's always on localhost. Don't think there's an option to change that either. Get rid of that. The S on there. Make sure I didn't overwrite our file here. Perfect, got it in there. Here goes nothing. While that's kicking off, we'll just go through and looks like we got it all. So it appears that the self-signed certificate might only work on systems that have OpenSSL on them, which I do not have on my Windows system. Looks like something is refreshing. Yep, looks like it's running through some tests here. Let's just start at the top and run through all of these. This looks way better. And I didn't have to change a single line of code, which was even better. Why are you not picking up my environment file? Ah, because I didn't change this one. One 337. So at least had all the tests pass. You can see a whole slew of things in here that should not have gone out to our actual API. So we are not quite done mocking some stuff here. So I'd love to figure out which one called that. Easiest way to figure it out is to start commenting some tests or start putting some .onlys in here. Subscribe .only. And it failed because our build is taking forever to run. If you have any questions along the way, just let me know here. We're just trying to look at a couple of our tests. I noticed when I pulled up the Chrome DevTools, it was trying to go to our actual API, and we actually do not want it to go to our API at all. We want everything to be fully mocked out. So this way we're doing more integration tests, not necessarily end-to-end tests, since we don't have our API there. And we're just waiting for the typical stuck at 92% for a production build. And I keep running in the prod build because we're testing our CI, so we wanted to actually run in a production build. Let's kick back off our Cypress test. Okay. Wonder if our Angular test actually died as well. Looks like maybe our Angular server stopped running. Oh, it did stop running because the path disappeared. Yep, so we can definitely see that we've got some tests here that are running against our actual server here. So let's mock those out here. CY-route, the URL, and it is /to-do. Method is a get. And I say status 200. And our response, we're just going to do an empty record here because we don't need any items. And we're also going to tell it to wait for that to do. So that's our sign up. We want to get down to our login as well. That's one more time. And I screwed up this piece. It is not a single object, it is an array. So it is, let's see what it is still hitting. So it looks like it's still hitting the log out. There's a little more room here. Let's find our logout button. nav, log out, click, dot wait. Not quite sure I got that giant thing there. At log out. CUI dash route. URL. URL. Method. Status 200. Response. We'll go with OK for now. So user slash logout is our URL. And it's a get method. And alias this. Log out. So we still have one user login here. Let's take our dot only off this. Put it down here. And let's see what happens here. Just one more time. See, I did mock that out. Let's just change it to 403 and see what happens. I expect it to potentially fail, but alright. So everything is mocked out for that one. So I think our other call is potentially in here that's going out to our actual API. No errors, so that's good. So that one's expected. What is a put command? So let's make sure. Yep, I did a put command. Perfect. Let's see what other ones we happen to catch that fail. That one's an expected one. So far so good. Everything is being mocked out here. So now in theory, I should be able to undo both of those. Run back through our build. Our server is obviously going to crash. So the directory is going to be deleted and recreated. So what I'm expected to see after this build is done and we run our test is it will not try to go out to this actual sales WS that's on Heroku. And we should see everything mocked out. Which is what we thought we had done on our last stream, but obviously we missed a couple. Just waiting for our production build to finish running. In the meantime, make sure I don't have anything hanging out here. Do wish the prod build didn't take so long, but it is what it is. In the meantime, throw any questions that you have in the chat. Let me know how your day's going. You know, if you're working on anything that you think is cool and want to share, or just what you're actually working on today. Build's done. Let's start our server back up. And run all of our tests again. Oh, I saw at least one thing that tried to go out to our sales instance. We will have to troubleshoot that. It is not clear what stuff is truly being mocked here. The fact that nothing errored, though, is making me feel like everything is mocked, and that this is just the URL it would have went to. But one way to quickly verify that is to find our mock object up here. Let's throw something in there. Let's look at our to-do service, or our to-do. Look at our to-do spec that's for our Cypress test. Let's see here. And we'll take a look at our XHR request here in a minute. Okay, I can tell all of these are mocked out because this account doesn't actually exist on the real server. And we should see if we find our to-do items here. Should pick up the... Yep, picks up the one item that we put into there. Now that we got all this stuff working, let's actually make some commits here. Unstage our Travis file, 'cause that file is not done. Let's take a quick gander at things that we fixed. Reset that file. actually unstage these two. And I'm going to technically unstage these as well. We'll go the opposite direction. To not be hard-coded, which is what we did here for this file. All right, one more unstage, and we're going to pull this file in a little bit at a time. Is there actually anything in here that I don't just want to stage? A big no. Add missing mocks. I have a feeling this one is linting errors. Yep. Not sure why that didn't go through the first time. So that's a lint error. That's a lint error. Same here. And we want to discard that change. And we're going to leave that one. So fix linting errors. Recorded responses. Responses. There we go. And if you got any questions about what we're doing today, hey, just throw them on into the chat room. And if you are just joining us, we are working on getting our project all set up for CI. We ran into a couple issues we were using HTTP server, and we found that actually didn't work for pages when you navigated to them. It gave a 404 page for anything that wasn't the home page, and then you didn't click on it to navigate from the home page. So something like localhost 4200/unknown or /login, those would throw 404 pages. So we fixed that one with an Angular HTTP. And then we had a couple tests that were actually failing due to not mocking everything out and not having our API actually started. And then the last piece that we have is we need to fix one of our unit tests. So we actually commented one of these out. Commented this unit test is out, and it's because this is sometimes undefined. So we need to actually pull that field in. And at one point in time, we were pulling it in, and I don't know what happened to that. So let's just take a gander through here. So this is in the before each for validation test. So what we need to do is put it in our setup here. function setup. So this way it gets called, and then it calls all of our other tests. So validation would already be set. And we didn't set it there, so it should now actually be set. So stop this server from running. Stop our Cypress stuff from running. And let's do an ng test. Actually, let's do an npm run CI test. This way it runs as headless, because that's where it was consistently failing. Alright, what the heck did we actually call it? Reverse them. Test. CI. There we go. Wow. Took a bit to get that one. If you're just joining our stream, we are working on getting everything set up for running on TravisCI. Hey, we thought I was ready, but once we tried to run all of our CI commands, and we ran into some unit tests that were failing. We ran into HTTP server, actually caused all of our Cypress tests to fail that weren't navigating from the home page down. And so we've fixed that piece. We've hopefully fixed our unit test. And we are just going through and validating that. And then we can actually start what we intended to work on today, which was actually creating our TravisCI file and trying it out on TravisCI. And we got about another like 45 minutes or so left in the stream before I have to run off to a meeting. But we'll see how far we can get in that time frame. Whatever we don't finish today, we will finish on our Friday stream. So I stream Mondays and Fridays at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So it looks like our test is still failing. We actually have 11 of them now. So now that I moved up, so let's see, I may have put it into the wrong spot. And I did. We needed after detect changes. So detect changes runs through our ng on init, and that's where we are actually defining all of our form stuff. So let's just go take a quick gander and validate that. ng on init, where are you at? Here we go. Yep, so this is where we actually set our form, and until then it is actually null. So one more time. Just wait for our test to kick off here. And while we're at it, let's navigate to this piece. Actually want to open that up. So when we actually look through here, let's look and see where we were at. So notice it looks like we have fairly high test coverage, but that is actually a bit of a lie. So let's take a look at simple. So this one doesn't even truly test. Like subject is set to world, but let's pick a different one that actually has some business logic. If I can find a good one here. auth service. Let's see what the code coverage for auth service is. Shared services. Hey, at least the code coverage is better than expected. But one of the potentials that you run into with code coverage is it's not necessarily about tested. It's actually about executed. So it looks to go, hey, you haven't actually executed any of these things. So if I go modify this, well, this one doesn't have like an ng on a init. If I pick a component that has an ng on a init, let's pick this one here. Let's look and see what our spec actually looks like. So we do have a decent amount of test here, but I'm going to bet that it shows higher test coverage. Because some of these that are close to 100%, there are no tests. See if I can find a good one here. You can see it thinks we tested a decent amount of stuff, and I know we haven't tested some of this. So you do have to be skeptical a bit of this code coverage report, but at least it is being generated. And why I was going down that route is there's actually a Medium article here about Angular unit test code coverage lies. So Jared was talking about here that basically all of these code coverages are about things that got executed, not things that got tested. And so we will run through this article on a future stream, and we will test this out and validate this. But okay, all of our tests are passing now. So now run CI. So let's run our full CI package. Again, as a reminder for our packet, for our CI command here, it'll run lint, our unit test, it'll run all of our production build, and then it'll run through all of our Cypress test using this start server and test, which runs this command to start our Angular HTTP server up, waits for it to respond on localhost 4200, and then it kicks off the Cypress run, which says Cypress run, and tells it don't run any of the videos. Oop, and it looks like we have an error here. Let's see. Our linting looks like it failed, but it is not clear why our lint. Oh, here we go. So it looks like we had fixed some stuff at one point in time. So there's one linting down. Let's just highlight this piece. And we'll just format that. Make it a little nicer. We're going to disable the max line length for that one, just because it's an import statement. Excuse me there. Okay, let's save those. Let's run RCI again. Make sure our linting passes. We should get 3 lint warnings if all is going right. And that is the for root for our NGX bootstrap. There we go. the 3 that we expected. So let's come over to get cracking here and let's actually check these in. There's that one. Actually, let's unstage that one because it's a different fix. Fix linting errors. Fix item field is undefined error for test. There we go. So it is going and doing our build compilation right now. And then it's going to run our unit test and everything should pass with those. You can start to see why it takes a little bit of time to get your CI/CD stuff set up. Thankfully, we can run all of these commands locally so that we don't have to wait for TravisCI to detect changes and to run everything on their side. So we just need to validate that our whole command that we're going to pass to TravisCI is actually working. So our unit tests are passing. Next is our build, and then hopefully our Cypress test. And hopefully our Cypress test actually passed this time. And yes, I know that watching builds is a little bit boring, but it is what it is. Could be worse. We could be doing some of this by hand. I think I need to add in a screen onto the stream where you can see a good portion of the desktop, but you can see a big view of me. So while we're running long-running things like this, we can actually have a chat, and you can still see stuff that is actually going on. And so I will work on getting that one added in. Meantime, if you have any questions at all, just toss them into the chat. So our build finished running, and now it's starting up our server. So we can see our server's available. And it should be kicking off our Cypress tester any moment. So it detected that it could respond to 4200 is responding, and so now we're waiting for Cypress to actually run through its thing. So in a moment, we will see some Cypress tests start to fly by. And it's just a matter of waiting for those to run, and hopefully if everything passes here, we can start working on our actual Travis file a bit. And when Cypress runs from the command line, it runs an Electron, as you can see. And so it is going through all of our test cases right now. So our 404 passed. It looks like so far so good for our account stuff. Oh, and it looks like it failed one test for some reason. We'll take a look at that in a moment here. So we can see our account had one test that failed. See if it gives any additional good details in here. It did not, so let's scroll back up through this. And let's see. So no fixture file found. And, so this is, it's trying to look for a file that doesn't actually exist. So let's pull up our account.js. And we will look for... I know the command I want, but I am not... it's right here. So record replay command. And what this looks at is if we're in record, or it saves out a file. But if I scroll down here and go if we're not in record, right here for this file, it tries to loop through the file, and obviously that file does not exist right now. So realistically, we can comment that line of code out. We're going to pull our package.json back up, and we are just going to run our Cypress one, because I don't want to wait for everything. You can run continuous integration, cy-run. So nothing else is here. Okay. Thankfully, our builds and everything else are saved and not deleted at the end of the build. So we can see Fort localhost is already responding. It's just waiting for Cypress to kick off now. And Cypress takes a little bit of time to spin up here. So it found 4 sets of specs again. So our 404 passed. Our account should hopefully pass this time. Because that error we had before, it actually had nothing to do with our test per se. It was just trying to load a file that didn't exist. There we go. Perfect. So now we are at the point where let's check all this stuff in just so we don't lose it potentially again. So stage our account one. We'll say date call to record replay commands. Commented out call to record replay commands. We'll stage both of these. Stage both of these. And we will say add npm deps for CI. And now we're ready to work on our Travis file. So let's close all of these. .travis. So we're at the point where we're almost ready. The thing that's missing is by default, Travis doesn't have Chrome installed. So I did run across this article a while ago. I had this thing bookmarked from ages ago. At some point in time, I knew I was going to need this. But basically, it's how do you run TravisCI with Chrome Headless? So if we scroll down and look at there's pieces. This is to add the add-ons for Chrome Stable. I also need the branches. Thankfully, he's got that one in there. I'm going to say chapter-UI-test because that's the only one that actually has a Travis file in it. So I don't know that we need a before script because we're already installing our our dependencies. We will find out. How's that? I also don't know that we need to sudo go in there. So let's save that. We're already doing those pieces. Cypress is our end-to-end pieces. And we will look at this piece later. The first thing we want to do is our CI piece. Okay, so we want to do continuous integration. Every time we do a change, have it kick off a build. And then we'll look at a continuous deployment. And because we have GitHub pages and it's just an Angular app, we can actually deploy out to our GitHub pages ultimately. But before then, let's go and check this piece in. We'll say add Travis YAML. And let's push this up. And we'll see. I can never remember org or com for which one's paid. And just because I already have this one in here and I have this one, I can already tell that we are on the free version. Another way to tell is their menu has a pricing piece on the paid one, which is the TravisCI.com. Okay, right. So it looks like it potentially may have picked up. Yep, it picked up our change. We had already set Travis up the previous time to at least connect to this repository. And we can see what this thing is doing. See worker information. Not totally sure what this thing is actually doing and why. Send mail if the user is not in sudoers. Use timestamp. I have absolutely no clue why this message is there. See if there's... Only thing I can think is maybe for the add-ons we need that. Let's let this run for a few minutes. And let's actually read through the article. I haven't actually read the article. I just glanced at the code. So it's our package JSON. Okay. In most cases, it says this is all you need. So if you want to customize your build, watch mode will wait and check for any file changes. We should also look at some Git hook stuff here and use Husky, which will allow us to run Git hooks without having to install the Git hooks. So there's nothing great in that, but I'm going to bet you number one points to TravisCI docs, which is what it does. So the only thing we didn't copy over here is the actual sudoers piece. Let's go back here and let's see where our test is at. So far so good. It's running our linting piece. It's running through our test cases right now. So it passed all of our test cases. It's running our ng build. And I was not expecting this to work the first time out. But I've definitely tried this before and gotten stuck on the ng test and not getting Chrome installed, so that add-on onto Chrome. in which we scroll back over and take a look. This add-on Chrome stable is what we needed to throw in there for all of these unit tests to run. Now it is just doing our production build, and then hopefully we'll see our our Cypress test kick off. Sweet, build finished. Kicked off our server. And because it's the first time we're running Cypress, it's going to take a little bit longer. It will cache these pieces. And thankfully, it actually had a cache of it, else it would have downloaded it. So far, so good here. There we go. So our build is successfully passed. It is just packing up the archive of this. I'm not totally sure what the archive will be. We will see here in a moment when this build totally finishes. But at least all the commands that we wanted are up and are passed. And we would be ready to actually implement our CD commands here. So our build is done. What I would love to figure out is, how do I actually get our artifacts? So basically what it actually created. View branch, view diff, view repositories. Oh, this is cool that you can actually view the Astro config. This is something that I had not seen before. Okay, how do you see? This is the one piece where I don't know Travis well enough, because I don't typically use it except for some open source projects here. How do I actually get my artifacts? Let's do TravisCI download artifacts. Is there a way to download latest? Okay, that was more for Travis. GitHub releases uploading. TravisCI can automatically upload assets to Git tags. Not quite what I was looking for per se. So let's rephrase this. Download build output. Travis prepares a solution to easily upload files produced while running tests. So it looks like it uploading. Travis can automatically upload your build artifacts to S3 at the end of the job. Interesting. So it looks like to get your artifacts, you actually would have to do something like S3 here. anyone out there knows how do you actually get your artifacts without uploading them someplace? See what script is. If your deployment needs more customization than after success, so you can script it. Not quite what I was wanting. This S3 uploader. Now that's kind of cool. Looks like there's a, go right from Travis to Cloud Foundry. Do the same thing for Firebase. Don't care about script. So it looks like the short answer is no, I can't. And to actually get my build. Let's look through their pieces here. Including files and data integrations. So I'm gonna have to ask somebody a little more experienced on that piece. But let's take a gander here at the CD piece of this article. So it's one thing to see all of our tests pass, but get complete factory on deploy our changes. After all, this is what we work so hard on. So he's deploying to GitHub pages, but you can deploy to any supported provider. So let's copy this piece here. So deploy. So provider pages, skip cleanup. So this would be ngws. So I'm deploying to GitHub pages. This is push, it'll automatically deploy the application that's pushed to master. Let's see, we want just chapter-ui-test. So it looks like I am going to have to provide to create a token for Travis. Let's just take a gander real quick. Just read the Travis docs. Pages, skip cleanup, token, keep history. Make sure you have skip cleanup set to true, otherwise TravisCI will delete all files created during the build, which will probably delete what you're trying to upload. So that might be why you can't download from the Travis UI, because they delete all your artifacts. Alright, and here's the important piece. So you need to generate a personal access token with public repo or repo scope, and repo is required for private repositories. Since the token should be private, you'll want to pass it to Travis securely. So further configs. So let's go back to our Travis build here. Let's go into settings. Alright, so this is where we're going to actually create our environment variable, and we're going to call it GitHub token. And while I get the token here, let's swap over to our secret screen. See, so, and I need to, it looks like, go create my personal access token. It's been a bit since I've done this, but it's going to take a little bit more. So it looks like you go under settings. Looks like there's a developer settings. So in GitHub, go under your profile settings, click on developer settings. It looks like personal access this token. We want to generate a new token. Give it a description, TravisCI, and it needs to have public repo. Public with the public repo or repo scopes. So I don't have any private repos at this point. Access to public repositories and generate our token here. And we're going to add it into our last pass as well. TravisCI token. Alright, we got our token here. Let's go back to Travis. Let's put it in here and then I can change screens here. Alright. Now that we got that done, sorry it took so long, been a bit since I've created one of those. But we have our GitHub token here, and we've got our security piece. And I still have the tab open, so give me one sec. Okay. Had to close the tab where I generated it. So let's go into this repository. Let's turn on GitHub pages. I don't think it is turned on. I would love to not turn it on for that. See, can you actually host on something besides master? GitHub pages, just branches. It's just besides master. I didn't want a new window, but we'll live with it. You can configure GitHub pages to publish from your site source, from master docs, and other page sites. So the easiest way around this is to actually just publish this right to master. I wonder if I could use Netlify as well. So if you're just joining our stream, we've got our build working in TravisCI, and I'm just looking at the continuous deployment options here. And so I was playing around with actually deploying it out to GitHub pages. So I think I'm going to try creating a GH pages branch. So create. See if I can actually create a branch here. Nope. Create branch. GH-pages. Yeah. So as long as it didn't check that out, let's make sure we're still on the right branch. So add GitHub pages deployment. And how is everyone doing today? We are just working on getting our TravisCI build that we got working about 20 minutes ago to also publish out to our GitHub pages. And so I do not have the repository configured for that, so that is what I am looking at right now. So let's push our GitHub pages branch up. And refresh GitHub. Sweet, automatically turned on GH pages, perfect. Let's see if this link even works at all. Sweet, it at least works at one point in time. I used to host my site there. So as you can see, it has a link over to redirect. Okay, so let's check in, or let's push up our TravisCI changes. And if we go here, I see it kicked off a new build. So welcome everyone into the stream here. I just sent up the commit to actually try to deploy Travis or my output from Travis to GitHub pages. And so we are trying that out right now. So our build is running through some pieces here. So our build is going to run linting, all the Angular unit test, do a production build, run through our Cypress test, and hopefully deploy out to GitHub pages. We shall see. I know the build part works. The deployment part is the new pieces here. Lots of info on the actual build itself. And if you have any questions, throw them in the chat. If you want to be notified when I go live for streaming, which is every Monday and Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, make sure to follow me up above and you'll get notifications. So now it's just the setup process here. So we've got Node.js that's running, so it's pulling some stuff out of the cache. And then we will see it run through all of our dependency installs and then kick off all of our CI build. So while this is running, feel free to ask any questions that you have, whether it's about the technology we're playing with, or the industry, or public speaking, or going to conferences, or anything else. Just do a little chat session while we're waiting for this to run. So our linting finished, and now it's off to our Angular unit test. And these all run in Chrome Headless. So we got 61 tests here, and they do go by pretty quickly. Not doing a lot of intense processing at all. And now it's off to our production build. So this one will take a little bit of time. So it is taking its sweet time with our build like it always does. It will get kicked off here in a moment. This is by far the worst part about playing in the CI/CD space, is waiting for the builds to run. And it is pretty boring and kind of like watching paint dry. So our build got created here. And now we're off running our Cypress test. So you can just imagine on a much more complicated project than the demo app that we have, how long it can take to get CI/CD changes and the initial setup all completed. So once you get it working once, you tend to stay with the same technologies, and you try not to change it around onto new techs unless there's a compelling reason. You know, now that we have this working any other Angular project I literally can go in, grab that Travis YAML file, put it in my project, go to Travis, tell it to connect up to that repository, and now I've got CI/CD working. And same thing with the deployment once we get it working. And so that time to actually having to deploy becomes much quicker. All of this, let's test all the commands, let's make sure everything's working. And like we spent the better part of this stream trying to solve the issue of HTTP-server, couldn't get to any of our pages that weren't navigated to from the home page. Now that we've solved that, we don't have to worry about that again. And we are just waiting for our build to finish here. We're in the middle of running our Cypress test. And then we are going to see if our deployment actually works or not. So we're going to try to deploy out to GitHub pages. So our Cypress test finished. So far we've gone through linting, Angular unit test. That's the Angular production build. Ran all of our Cypress test. And now we're going to attempt to, if everything's working right, to actually deploy it out to GitHub pages, which I have never tried before through Travis. I'm playing with Travis really for the first time for anything besides just a very, very simple build. And I have no clue what the box 7 actually means. I'm sure it is something. But if you're just joining us and you have any questions about technology or Angular or anything else, just go ahead and throw them in the chat and I'll get right to them. Now it's just waiting for Travis to do its thing. Just a quick review of our YAML file. The stuff that we added is this deployment section here. So they've got a built-in pages provider. We have to tell it skip the cleanup. I guess Travis actually removes out all your artifacts at the end of the build. We had to create a GitHub token, and this $GitHub token uses the environment variable so that we're not checking our actual token into code and it's not visible in our logs. This says what directory to deploy it out or deploy from. So our dist and GWS, and then which branch. So in our case, we want to deploy out to the chapter UI I test. This whole GitHub repository is all set up for a workshop. So it starts from a chapter for each chapter, and or a branch for each chapter. And there's like 14 branches, and this is the final one that has everything ready to go. So it says it supposedly deployed it. Let's find out. So it technically deployed it, and we can see that based off these responses. If I go and look at sources, I bet I'm going to see all of my styles and some other stuff in here. Let's see what's in our home page. So yeah, it technically has it, but what's screwing it up is this base ref right here. And so we need to look at how do you actually update that piece, because I've never deployed an Angular app out to GitHub pages. And let's actually open that in a new tab. So I also want to look at the Angular wiki, since they actually have an article on this. It looks like for when we do our prod build, if we're going to deploy it, we actually need to change this piece of it. Let's see. First step, create the repository, update that build. You can also use the full featured package that has the extra functionality. Interesting. So it looks like we also need, for some reason, to make a copy of our index.html and name it to 404.html. Interesting. So we will see if we can actually get that modified. So package JSON. Should I copy the right thing? And it is angular-tutorial-code. So that is our actual GitHub repo. We'll take a look at this packages as well to see what is this thing doing. Publish to any GH page branch. Usage. Oh, interesting. So we will have to play with this branch on the next stream here. But let's go back here and see how can I copy out the 404 with Travis. Publish to any GH pages branch on GitHub. You know what? We're going to try this. Why not? Let's do it right now. If it's as quick as it says, we should be able to get it deployed out here pretty quickly. Wish I knew what options there truly were. So we set that up. Travis. And we're just going to put it right into here. GWS. We'll comment that piece out. I'm assuming there's a token somewhere that I have to pass in that it is not showing here. And there is. So in this example, following command runs on Travis. There we go. And what did we call this? We called this GitHub token. So drummer J and angular-tutorial-code. Not that I really want that in code, but okay, we've already got that. It's because it makes a commit over to the branch. So name and email is optional, so we don't need to put that in there. We're going to leave silent on because we're going to have some credentials. So we've got, we need this in here as well. .files, no CNames. Repo. So there's our token, we've got that. Get rid of that line. So we added we added Angular, GH pages package. Let's push this up. And in a moment we will see our Travis build kick off. Waiting for it to detect the change. Just make sure I'm on the branch. I think I am. I am. I've noticed every so often Git Kraken doesn't totally push something up there. But it's just a matter of waiting for Travis to actually pick stuff up. There we go. And if everything's working right, hopefully this time once it does our deployment, it'll have the base ref updated and we can get a actual UI. Just takes a little bit of time. But considering that we only started our Travis portion about an hour ago. Oh, and we've got it running linting, unit testing, our production build, running all of our Cypress tests. And now we're working on doing deployments out to GitHub pages. It's just, I'd say an hour is pretty darn good timing wise. And we are nearing the end of our stream today. After we watch this run go through, we will wrap everything up. I will be streaming again on Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, and we will finish off any Travis things that are left to finish off. Hopefully all of this stuff works this time, and we can move on to a different project. I have been looking at rebuilding a similar project to what I've done at work so that we have a bigger project that we can actually test some pieces on so we can continue down our Cypress route. But if not, we'll find something else to build. One of the other pieces that I'm working on is how to make it easier for new streamers to get everything set up, all the technology, have a kind of an ultimate guide to start to finish so that within a few hours you can get everything that you need up and running to be ready to actually stream. And so I've started some work on that guide, but we may actually stream a good portion of creating that piece. And you can see some behind the scenes stuff of how you actually get a stream set up. Because even though I'm new to streaming, it took me quite a bit of time to get to the point where I'm out of being comfortable with the technology, getting everything set up. And I want to shorten that time. And for other folks, I hear all the time, and from other people that they really want to start streaming, but it's a big barrier to entry for them. The technology takes them a while to get there. They don't know how to get sounds onto their stream. They don't know how to get the different overlays and the different chats and alerts and how Twitch actually works. And so a lot of that stuff, if they struggle with, and so I've helped a couple streamers get their streams up and going. And so now I just really want to put that into an actual document that anybody can follow through. So looking at our build here, we're already through linting, through our unit test, waiting for our Angular build to run. We'll see if I actually got this right. I may not have. Let's look at. Yep, it looks like because I didn't put the slash in front of it, I am going to get to do this a second time. It is gbuild -- prod. Actually, I bet you I can run that. Let's run this one here locally. Build prod. And we'll verify that we actually got that piece of code out. So update ng build prod base href to have leading slash. Save that. And we'll push that one up. And we're right now testing out our ng build prod where we added in the leading slash. Testing that locally just to make sure everything works right. In the previous check-in or commit that I did, I had forgotten the slash, so I have a feeling it's going to totally break on me. come all the way up to the top here. Shrink coverage. Look in our dist folder. Perfect, that is what we wanted to see. So Travis is going to kick off a 5th build. So we'll wait for this one to get deployed since I'm anxious to see this running. So I'm willing to wait a few minutes longer. In the meantime, we'll close down some of these tabs that we no longer need. That was one that we needed. Let's open back up our TravisCI build. Yeah, we're just waiting for our build to run. At least we're getting multiple opportunities to validate that our build truly works. And one of the next steps too is actually taking everything that we've done on this stream and making a blog post out of it. Because it has been a little difficult to put it all together. Took a decent amount of research before I tried it out. So right now we're just installing our dependencies in the build. So going through linting. And now running our unit test. So off our unit test go. Next comes our production build. I wish this log would actually stay in view, since it keeps scrolling out of view. Just waiting for the build. Sweet, we can see the command that we expected to see here. Actually, okay, I was hoping the little dash would give me something, but it does not. It's cool though, if you click on the line, it actually puts it in the URL. So you could actually send that over to a teammate and get them to the exact line in the log file versus this giant log file, since we're at 600 and some lines right now, and it's just growing. So it's starting up our Cypress test here. It'll take about 30 seconds or so to run. We will also look at a future stream of upgrading Cypress. Cypress just came out with a new version last week, and we are still using the previous versions. We need to upgrade our project and try out the new stuff. So you notice here, because we updated our base ref, we didn't update our Cypress test to actually have have the new paths. So we will do that on the next stream, and we will get that working, because all of these tests are going to basically, they fail for the most part, or anything that actually navigates is going to fail, or anything that checks the path. And that's why these failed, because it actually checked the path to be equal to unknown, and there's a bunch of those checks here, as you can see. So let's wrap this up for the day and just do a recap of where we started and where we ended up. So the beginning of the day, the intent was, or we thought, our previous stream, we had mocked out all of our API calls out. We discovered we hadn't mocked our API calls out. We fixed that one when we found a unit test that randomly was failing, and it depended on order, because we forgot to set a variable value, and one of the other tests set that. And so we fixed that error. Then we were using the npm package http-server to start up our server for our Cypress test. And unbeknownst to me, it didn't have fallback built into the server. So anytime you tried to navigate to anything besides the home page, you got a 404 page that didn't exist. If you went from the home page and routed, it worked great, but it was that deep linking that it didn't have. So we fixed that by swapping out to angular-http-server as our npm package. Didn't have to make any coding changes at all. And then we were ready to play with getting Travis actually working. So we got our Travis build working, got Chrome installed by using the add-ons on Chrome in there. And it ran our linting, our unit testing, our production build, and our Cypress test. And then where we left off, which successfully passed but didn't fully pass, is we tried to deploy out to GitHub pages. So we got that working, but the piece that you need to do with Angular is you have to update your base ref URL, and we weren't doing that. So we couldn't see anything on the GitHub pages. And so now we are working at trying out the Angular GitHub or the Angular GH pages, just npm package, and changing our base ref, which where we left off was all of our Cypress tests need to be updated with the actual base ref URL to include our new base ref URL. And so we will do that on the next stream, and we will get all of those tests passing again so we can finish off our deployment to GitHub pages. And until then, and have a wonderful week. I will see you Friday at 10 p.m. Pacific time. And for my stream, and I'm also streaming Thursday night at 6:30 Pacific time, the Southeast Valley .NET user group in Chandler, Arizona. We are doing .NET Core, and let's actually look this up real quick, because I believe there's an actual title for it, and I don't know why it's totally escaping my mind. It is .NET Core, and PowerShell development on AWS. That I will stream it on my channel, but here is the meetup for that, and that'll be 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. I'm on Thursday, and my stream again will be Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Until then, have a wonderful rest of your week.